Hello and welcome to my garden, Princess Lillian's garden. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about my garden and how it all started. A long time ago, I would say just about over a decade, I always got this feeling and I wanted to start a garden. You know, as you would always think, I want to plant something. And then we went along with the entire family to the garden shop and I bought a pot and some seeds. I just bought one pot and about 4 packets of seeds, and this was the pot I bought. And my thinking was I would section this pot into 4 and plant tomatoes on one side and plant some dahlias on another side and plant some spider plants on the third side. That's the memory that I have. Tomatoes, dahlias and spider plants. Those were the 3 things I planted. But obviously this pot is too small to take all those. I mean, this single pot was impossible for us to use. So within 3 or 4 months, everything was overcrowded, and that was the end of my first attempt at gardening. I had to start to think about it, and YouTube was actually a great savior. So I hit YouTube really hard. I would watch YouTube videos to learn how to garden, and this was very beautiful. I watched so much YouTube, I watched more than I needed, and I'm very grateful that I did. I actually connected with a lot of YouTubers. We went on trips together when they would go out. I remembered when they moved houses to their new locations. I remembered when they started talking and then started planting trees and telling us about trees. I remember you all, and thank you for all your great works. I remember you sitting under the tree. I remember you seeing the snake in the grass. I remember you over in the USA, and I remember you in Australia. You all helped to build this garden, and I thank you. This is the garden that I have made from watching YouTube. But it's not just a tomato garden. This is a garden that's got flowers in it. It's a garden that's got bees, ants, butterflies, spiders in it. This is a garden that we as a family love. Look at what you have done, because you have uploaded onto YouTube, and I have come along and taken a look. I fell in love with your work, and I thought I'd just have to replicate this. So every time you said you should try this at home, I was trying it, and I just got better and better and better. And I think I should just show this to everybody. If you want to start a garden, watch a few YouTube videos and start your garden, because a garden is the testament of nature. It shows us the power that God has put into nature, that when you plant a seed, it will grow. You are going to reap more than you sow, because the seed is going to be very small, but the harvest is going to be very big. Can you imagine this? They were quite small when I planted them, but all over here now, I have this. I was actually amazed this morning when I saw these 2 dahlias. I was thinking, do we have 2 color dahlias on a plant? And then I remember that I planted 2 of them in the same pot. So they got interlocked along the way, but it's actually a beauty to behold to me. And just below it, I have my nerines. I remember buying the bulbs for this in the shop. It was a plant shop, and there was a lady standing beside me, and she said, soak it in water overnight and then plant it in the morning. That was what I did. And a few weeks later, I could see the nerines coming up. I was really glad, and I said a prayer to this lady. I have this garden and I really love it. You can see every member of my family just telling me, oh, I like this one. Everybody's got their favorite in this garden, because it's just a place where we see so many activities. We see bees, we see spiders, we see snails, and then we see slugs. Now, at some point, I had just a very little garden, remember? Because you have to start small. I had just 4 pots, and that was one that contained the yucca, one that contained the sunflower, and one that contained geraniums and a bigger one that contained tomatoes. And then I went out because my children asked for it. They said, we want roses too. So we got roses. Pink roses, peach roses, red roses, we got them all. And this garden started to grow. So when we have about 4 pots in the first year, and we added more to it before the end of the year, by the following year, this garden had about 10 pots, and just on and on and on over the years. This is what I have to present. I remember the story of each and every one of these plants. When this plant, it's called a touch me not, first started to grow, I thought it was a weed. I was just about to take it off, and then I saw just one pink flower, and I thought, oh, this is not a weed. And then I let it be. Sorry, I didn't mean to pluck that off. And over the years, this is the 4th time this plant is coming back. What it does is it spreads its seeds all over the garden, and when we have spring, it grows. If it's in a convenient place, I just let one plant, I just let it be. And because this has grown in a convenient place this year, I let it be. It grew further in last year, and so there it was last year. This is just something that I love to talk about, and I thank God for YouTube. I thank YouTube for this platform where you can do something and really enjoy what you're doing, because it takes away the queries. You have somewhere to go and ask and see pictures of what it's supposed to be like. You can talk to people, you can ask them questions. How did you grow this? I remember asking somebody quite young about this dahlia, and he was busy explaining to me, and I'm saying I'm going to be growing dahlia again, and I really need to understand it. And then I got the understanding of how to prune my dahlia and the different types of dahlias, and that is why I have so many types of them in my garden today, because these are dahlias. And further in, those are dahlias. And to the left as well, it's dahlias. You can see a white one in there. That's because there are 2 pots beside each other. Now, the beauty of this gardening is that when I have these plants all together, at some point I had to bring in a bigger box and put it right in the middle. That bigger box is where I sowed so many different plants, and at different times of the year, that's when they come in. Earlier in the year, we got some bulbs like the iris, the bearded iris. A lot of them have come along in the early part of the year, and I'll show you. This is the leaves of the iris. Now this is a spider plant. This part of the spider plant I had to get again to restart my garden. And when you see those orange things that look like a corn on the cob, that is a type of iris. That is the kind of seed or fruit that it left behind when it matured. And just beside it, you saw the lavender. Now, in my garden, I have grown herbs over the years, and this has been very beautiful to watch. This has been very beautiful and very advantageous. because being able to grow a herb like mint is something that I consider wonderful. I can smell it now, can you? Yeah. This mint is wonderful. I just love it. Now, as I picked up this pot, when you see gardening is actually a very interesting hobby, but it is hard work. So you have to start it gradually, and you have to make sure that you can maintain it, or you have people who are going to help you to maintain it. There's always word about gardeners don't travel, gardeners don't leave home. Then you will become very, very bored if you have to do that. So you have to organize it in such a way that the garden doesn't take over all your life. But gardening is actually a very, very, very beautiful hobby. I'm going to show you my jade, which I got from a very, very young age. Here it is. I really appreciate showing this jade because I had to go online again to find out how to fatten your jade plant, because the jade kept breaking and breaking after I had bought it. It was after taking a look at it that I learned how to deal with my jade, and today I have a plant that I think is quite beautiful to look at. The very first members of my garden that I mentioned, the yucca, has been placed up here, and the reason for this is because it's now developing some little babies around it, and that's taking a lot of space. I don't want it to be like wounding us, so we have to put it somewhere high up, and it looks quite beautiful where it is. But I'm always so happy to see that this same yucca has been here right from the beginning of this garden. And I'll show you how to maintain it so that it doesn't grow to an extent where you can't have it in your garden anymore. And that means I'm going to have to cut it and replant it so it becomes a young plant again, and then all these other ones will carry on growing, and then I have more plants. I'll give some of them to people who want plants. This spider plant produces such beautiful flowers. The first time I saw it, I was amazed. Now, some people know that spider plants produce flowers, but not someone like me. I didn't know that. So finding out that in my own garden, that made me very, very happy. One thing I want to mention to you is that if you are having a garden, you would need to do it in a way where, if it's a home garden, you are able to maintain it within your own means. Don't go out and purchase so much that you feel out of pocket. For example, you can try to make compost by using old cardboard and leaves. At certain times you will see leaves, and you can collect these leaves and put them in a bag and place them on the floor. I've brought this bag and put it on the floor in front here because I want to show you the bag. Now this is a bag of leaves, so I'm just going to leave it on the floor at the back somewhere, and it's going to go down and down and down till it becomes leaf mold. There will be loads and loads of earthworms. They will come from all around the garden floor, and they will come in from underneath, and they will help the mold to carry on. I'm going to lift up this bag, and you will see I think I put this bag here about 3 days ago. Now let's leave this bag. We should find maybe 1 or 2 earthworms underneath. Yes, that's 1 earthworm there, and that's another. So if you have a place where you put a bag of leaves, a lot of earthworms will come and they will help the leaves to break down. In my earlier videos, I've shown you about my tomato garden, and my tomatoes are growing now. This was the tomato plants that I had to take off the leaves because of the wind. I said I didn't want to pull them back up after the wind had made them to all fall down. So I pulled them back up, but I took out all the leaves, and I'm happy to say it's worked because my tomatoes are ripening very well. Now this tomato here is what you call a volunteer, because you can see I didn't plant it, it just started to grow. So what you do when you see a volunteer is you support it as much as possible and help it to go along its way. I would like to show you my peppers and to say I'm so happy because all these peppers are grown from seed. They are flowering and fruiting. The fruiting may not be all successful this year, but what I intend to do is to overwinter these peppers so that I can now start with stronger, older pepper plants next year. This pepper plant is actually my favorite. I think it's a habanero. This is very hot. In this pot, I showed you I planted these tomatoes so that they will be my stagger pot. That is when the original set of plants have ripened and gone away. I will still have some that I've just planted and they've just come to. So you see that you still have a lot at the top here. And I used this pot to show you that you can just plant 2 tomatoes, support it, and have it for use at home. While I would like to say that I have succulent plants, they're all over the place, so I would just be able to show you I've shown you the jade, and this another one. Okay, I would like to testify to the fact that you have to look after your plants for them to grow well by producing good soil, by positioning them well, and by supporting them. Also, you water and make sure that when they have come to, you harvest so that it doesn't start to attract pests. I want to show you some plants that even though they have been kept under the same conditions and they are probably the same variety. Taking a look at this, you can see the fruits and you can see the leaves. Now let's take a look at this. Can we see the leaves here? I think it's the same as that one, but it has no fruits, no flowers, nothing. So this is just testament that even a gardener, even I in my own garden, I can have 2 tomatoes and they behave differently. That one and this one, they look like the same to me. this has got fruit, it's already ripening. But this has no fruit. So that is just the wonder of God in how nature is. So we have to look after our plants, but there could still be one thing or the other that we need to consider and let that one go. I think it's called something like the 80-20. You gain some, you lose some, and that's always the best thing. I want to show you my tomato in a bottle, which is a challenge that we did. It has been growing it's still alive. And it's actually flowering now. I mean, this tomatoes the same age as the rest of my garden. So you can see that this condition is not convenient for this tomato. It's really struggling. So we need to give our tomato a good condition to grow well. Now, I want to tell you about some important members of my garden which help with composting, and those are earthworms. When you have a garden and you have pots, you may feel the need to shift a pot one day or to shift a pot another day. So today I'm going to show you when you shift a pot, you need to be ready to clear whatever earthworms are underneath, because there will always be earthworms underneath your pot. So if you come closer, it's not a pot, it's just the base of the pot that I have left there. So when I lift it, you will see that you should be ready with a brush and a dustpan. Yeah, so if you have a need to move a pot in your garden or any pot base, which is what I'm trying to do now, you have to be prepared because there will be earthworms. And so you would want to sweep up these earthworms and pour them into a bed. Then I can now take this lid away. Thank you very much for coming with me and seeing about my garden. It's been nice showing you, and I hope you've enjoyed being here. I have other videos in which I've shown you different bits of some of my plants growing up. Thank you very much. Please like, comment and subscribe to Princess Lillian's Gardens. Bye.